Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast. Once again, thank you to my subscribers. If you are not a subscriber, please consider hitting that button so I can bring you guests like these. My friends Marc LaBelle and John fucking Notto from Dirty Honey. Always great to have these guys. In 2023 and 24, Marc, John, and Dirty Honey took over the US, the UK, and Europe on their sold out 60 date Can't Find the Breaks headline tour. They now have a double live record to show for it, as well as a 4-part companion video documentary. It's all ready for us. It's called Mayhem and Revelry Live, and it's all coming out tomorrow, February 21st. Marc, John, it's great to have you guys, man. Thanks so much.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
Did you guys know before you went out on this thing that you were going to be recording a live album, or was it, you got back and you said, hey man, this sounds great, let's do this? So how did that all come about?
It was kind of actually splintered between two different tours. The one in Europe, I believe, came first. Where the bulk of the visual documentary element is from. That was about this time last year, and then we were listening to some stuff, and it was becoming apparent that we were pretty good at playing live, thankfully, once we were listening back. And then we went out on the US leg, the North American leg. There's a Canadian show in there, and I think by the start of that tour, we're like, okay, the plan is to put out a live record. Let's see, what we can do with some of these tracks on this next leg of the tour, and see if we can't, one up or better them. And then as we went along, it became even more clear that one side should be North America, one side should be Europe, and that's how we tackled it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The the sequencing and stuff. It's different than the show. I was at Chicago, and I'm looking at the album, and I'm like, this isn't the sequence at all. But it's a pretty cool. What was the decision on that? Did you purposely do that to like throw the rhythm of the record a little bit differently, or when you were sequencing the album, was that group discussion?
Not entirely. I think we were throwing the original sequence and kind of just liked it. As Marc has said before, I think a lot of the motivation was to have every side have a quote unquote banger, not front load or back load, and also have some of our more well-known songs also on the Europe side.
Right.
I think we found quickly it was easier to find performances we loved sound-wise from America. So it could have been sort of fool's gold or easy to just pick all our, the top songs from that side. But, as you've heard, we chose When I'm Gone from Europe, I think, right? Was that Europe?
No, that was from... Oh, When I'm Gone is from Europe. Yeah, but the video that went out was from LA, actually. So
Right. So When I'm Gone from Europe, and there's some other songs on there that are really popular, for us.
Right.
But I think it was a split thing of like, let's make sure some popular songs are represented around the world, as well as and that affected the order, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm listening and I hear, and Marc, it's great, man. You call out where it is too. I hear Cleveland, Cincinnati, Canada, Milano. I even hear East Moline, Bloomington. I was like, yeah. I'm just outside of Chicago, so I'm like, wow, who says East Moline, Bloomington? That's cool, man. Very cool that you do that.
We've gone through there a couple of times to that hall in Bloomington, and it's always been awesome. So and it sounds really good.
Which one is? Oh, I know which one that is.
Yeah. It's kind of like sloped, smaller.
It reminds me of exactly of the Bluebird in Colorado.
Yes. Yeah. Very similar. But yeah, I kind of knew stepping up to the mic that night that if I nail this version of Coming Home, it's probably going to make the record. So
yeah, that's cool. And I wanted to ask you about sound. Going to different venues are, some are better than others. And when you're recording, I would suppose you had your own front of house and engineer and stuff like that, but you don't always have the equipment that he might want or anything like that. Was there how was that difficult for you guys to get the recordings you needed?
We got it.
No, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you can definitely hear a change in room. I mean, like
Hmm.
the States and Europe for us are very similar in that, like, depending on the city, the size of the room, the quality of the room, everything, all those things can change. And like the PA quality can change. Like there's just so many variables. So, you know, Jaden made a good point. I was always my favorite live record of all time is Aerosmith Little South of Sanity. And I'm always like comparing us to that. And I'm like, man, like listen to this, it sounds amazing, And he's like, dude, there's so much more consistency in what they were. They're probably playing arenas every night. You
Right.
know, the drum riser was the same distance away from the vocal mic and the guitar amps every night. Like that's a pretty sterile, all things
Yeah.
considered, in comparison environment, compared to what we're dealing with. Where like sometimes we have a ceiling that like you jump and you hit your head on the ceiling and
Right.
so you can definitely hear the differences and the nuances in the recordings, but we got what we needed every night for sure.
Well, and I think that helped me like the album even more. When I listen to it, I feel like I'm standing next to somebody. Even when I'm sitting in the chair listening to it, I can feel the people around me. There's an intensity. That draw of the ceiling being just above your head. It's not that big booming arena echoey kind of live album that we're used to getting. Uh, I like that. I like it's raw. It's like Dirty Honey. It's raw rock and roll.
Yeah, and I think in the same way that the documentary sort of showcases all of the ups and downs of being on the road, the live record has its own audio version of that where yeah, like you can definitely tell like this is a smaller club where we're playing this song and maybe John doesn't have his rig that he loves in this one, and
Yeah,
like
so, yeah. Sometimes I might have to go to 1 amp
Yeah.
just for size, and that the 2 amps isn't really about volume. It's more about tonal,
Hmm.
soundscape, and so sometimes you just got to go to one because it's a small place.
It's cool, man. It's a great sounding record, and
Yeah,
I gotta say, Justin is all over this thing, man. I mean, he just I knew he's a funky groove in the pocket guy. Uh, this record, it just and and I love that the production of it. You can hear that bass floating around inside these songs, man, and he's just in his own thing, yet still in the pocket. It's crazy, man. If you're a bass player, you love bass. Wait till you hear this thing. It's pretty great, man. It all brings it. It's the glue that holds all this stuff together. It's really cool. Um, the documentary, we are the line of blow and the shot of tequila that rock and roll desperately needs right now. Mark, I fucking love you, man. You said this when you were talking about being authentic, playing 100% live, no bullshit, no tracks, that kind of thing. Um, and I think of live albums, and I think of my favorite live albums. The Kiss Alive record. We all know the story there. And I did an interview decades ago with Ron Nevison, who did "Strangers in the Night," the UFO record. Many consider the greatest live record of all time, probably.
you just
Uh,
told my Eddie Trunk to check that out yesterday, and I did at the gym yesterday, late last night, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
yeah, it's a crazy great record. But talking to him, it's amazing how patched together that record was. Live albums, that was kind of the thing. You took the audience from this show and you put it on this song. That was a different song from a different audience. He redid some guitar tracks that didn't turn out quite that well. Patched them, punched them in, did some things in the studio, and kind of made this amalgamation of stuff to get what you needed. you guys are not that, right? So tell me about the production of the record. When you get that track back and all the the audio for the show, what's done in the studio for you guys? How much manipulation did you do to the tracks?
It's pretty much just purely equalization, in the mixing phase. I mean, I will admit we, especially for me, although Justin's pretty wild on stage too, but if there was like a random, clunking or sort of like a Guitar Hero sounding video game mistake, like in a wide open spot, we might mute that or cut it out.
Right.
But other than that, nobody went in and retracked anything. So,
yeah.
And that's largely, I think, due to two things. One, our brand is that, and our sound is that we are doing it like, the yesteryear days in terms of how we perform it. And part of the appeal is the on the edge factor of the performance, but also we had 65 shows. So we had, to weed through. So those two combinations made it really ripe to not have to worry about going in and re-recording. And, the last thing we always consider is budget as well, too,
right.
But that really wasn't a factor,
Yeah. And I don't know, man, I love mistakes, man. I love, I love the little things, man, that they make it raw and urgent. There's an urgency to it.
Well, that's what I think was a focal point of what we were trying to do. Like John is very considerate, I think, when listening back of the fact that people always say, hey, you guys make great records, but you're even better live. And so I think there is a magic to the live performance that we are trying to capture. And I hear an elevated sort of energy, much like I always did with all my favorite artists that put out live records. But yeah, it just, he's really tapped into that for the most part. Like this one has the magic and listening back, some of the decisions.
You picked some good ones too, though. You picked some doozies for sure.
Specifically, though, I remember hearing, I think we were toying with Heartbreaker from either Cleveland and Charlotte, and I was like, this is great. And then listening back now, I'm kind of glad we made the decision that we made.
Right.
But for the most part, I've said before, there's a lot of full shows where I went through and I'd be like, yeah, I'm totally cool with all of that going out. 100%. Yeah, I don't know if everybody else is, but I am,
Yeah.
There's
a learning curve for us too, like as musicians, to turn off the analytical ear.
Right.
And Mark was touching upon it, like with the audiences, them saying that we're so good live, better. But our like picky musician ears, we're going, really? Like, I missed that chord change, or I kind of flubbed that, or oopsies, little oopsies all over the place. But they're not hearing that. They're hearing energy, swag, like the overall delivery. And so I learned that more acutely on this project than I ever have before. I've always been into bands that took risks live, but now being on the other side of it, it's like, oh, you got to turn off that paranoia mind that might lead you to just re-record the whole thing.
Well, I
got to tap into that sort of our bigger hive mind that we have with everyone, which is like,
and I think that's documented in the documentary at the Electric Ballroom in London. John says, something clicked tonight in my mind. It's just rock and roll. It's supposed to be just simple fun. And of course, Mark says, you're just learning this now. So it's that kind of thing, where, you're trying to get all the chords right and you're trying to get the tone you want and everything, when really we just want the energy, man. We want to rock and roll.
Yeah.
And, it's that whole thing. Yeah. You did just kind of realize that as you're playing these shows, right?
Yeah, and I think like some context for that was that the bands that really like swindled my soul and were the bands that it wasn't really simple fun. It's like Led Zeppelin, Queen, Pink Floyd, Allman Brothers, even later Fish and the jam bands and even what Guns N' Roses gets into in Use Your Illusion, it gets really expansive, and it's not all simple and fun. But a lot of our songs are like more in that Stones, Aerosmith tradition of just, and AC/DC and everything blues, where it's like it's the motor, and you just and the other side of that coin was there's so much that we stress about on the road and just in the business and not sleeping, and someone's yelling at us about this, and we got an interview to do that, and you're watching me in real time be like, oh wait, that 90 minutes is really easy. That's the easy part of my job.
Right, it's the easiest part, right?
Yeah. Don't overthink it. Yeah, probably I'm guilty of that. I'm probably I have to work my way back from overthinking a lot, probably.
You do the documentary here, 4-part documentary. I've seen the first part. That's a lot of footage. That means a camera by your side, on the stage, off the stage, the traveling, the bus, the whatever. Is it tiring? Is it tiring to have that camera there? And I just want to be left alone, man. Just give me a few seconds. Anything like that?
I love it. Go ahead.
I know what you're saying. There's definitely moments where I'm like, maybe follow John.
yeah. I'm probably
he loves it.
There's a little bit of that, but I think all in all, the guy that did it, Mark, our friend and cinematographer, he is really good at being a fly on the wall and sort of staying out of the way, and knows when to maybe ask you a question or something that might be useful when editing. And in going through, because I've put a lot of time in looking at the footage and trimming stuff down and everything, and there's a couple of like 30-minute long clips after a show where we're sort of not feeling great or just down about something that happened at the show, and we're having a discussion about it, and like I didn't even know he was there recording this. I'm like, but thank God he did. This is cool. Like it's not a good moment for us, but it's a good moment for everybody to see, maybe and learn something, or realize that this is how it really is.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of fans, they come to the show, they have a great time, they see you, and then they go home and go to sleep. You guys have a whole world that revolves around those 90 minutes, man, and it's not always a whole lot of fun. So I think
a lot of fun. And I think towing that line of, we kind of there's a lot of talking about like how hard it is, like here and there, but yeah, it is hard, but it is also fun, and I think that's something we don't take that lightly. Like, we realize we have a lot of work to do, and everybody's willing to do the work, and we realize it is hard, but at the end of the day, like, we love it. And that's why we're here, like, don't let that get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. What was the most difficult part of the tour?
There's not like a most difficult. John says in the doc that the jet lag really gets to him going over to Europe, at least. But it's like little things. When I think when little problems come up, and then 48 hours later you're dealing with the same problem that should have been maybe solved or worked out, like that. Those are the things that really get to me, and that's when I can. That's the only time I really think I lose my shit, is when the same issue happens like 3 times. I'm like, when you're paying people to do stuff, like, really good guys, that we've encountered. Something as simple as, dude, like, I sign the set list like during the show at some point, and I'll make a little paper airplane and I'll fling it out to the crowd. And we had this one tech jump on the tour with us for a week, and he was just amazing. Like, he came out of nowhere with a marker for me to sign, and I was like, whoa, where's this guy? He's on it, So,
when you get the pro, the guys who normally just work really high end artists, you can feel the difference. It's like a service that you've hired. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's no slight. that's no slight to the people we have and the people that we use. It's just there's a reason guys bubble up to,
Right.
working for Lady Gaga or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they probably, vice versa, you know what I mean? They probably feel the same way working for us. It's like we're a lower gig. There's less comforts. There's less, there's less for them, so.
Yeah. And all of those things are part of the, it becomes part of the intensity of the day, the, how you feel when you get out there, you attack things maybe a little more, or, it's a little nicer. You guys are human. We gotta kind of remember that, and I see you make it all right on this record, and we didn't get that in Chicago, and man, that's amazing. It gives me chills, man. So this was extra special for me too.
And that was a particularly amazing take of that song too, because it was the very last show of the European tour in Paris, and we'd kind of been toying with playing the song a little bit, and Paris seemed to us like we had just seen a mosh pit and like people crowd surfing, and it was crazy show, and we were all exhausted by then. Last show of a European tour, like you're gassed.
Right.
Crowd just gave us like a total lift, and then we played that song, and I've said to every audience since, like, I expect Paris out of you when we get to this chorus, because they fucking sang that chorus so loud to us. It
unbelievable.
I may have shed a tear that night, so that the City of Love will forever be remembered in my heart for that one.
Man, and me as well. Like I say, I didn't get it in Chicago, so when I heard it and the crowd, it's spine chilling, man. When you hear this version, it's really, really cool, man. You can feel that room. It's really special stuff. It's cool. What's next for you guys? You doing a small tour to promote this record? Back out on the road, on new material. So what's up in 2025?
Sorry. We're gonna announce a tour soon. I don't think we have an exact date on the announcement, but it'll be summer, and it's going to be Europe. And then right now, our goal until then is to make a record. I think that's I think we all feel like we'd like to get one out before this year's over. And, I don't want to make promises, but I just think that would be, I think we all feel that would be the right, momentum move. So, and we do have a couple other extra special secrets that you'll definitely hear about. And it's a super cool opportunity that's coming around the bend, but we contractually can't say anything, so
yeah. It's great, man. I love the surprises you got. Cool. The documentary, how is it going to be available? How will people see it? Will it be a Netflix thing or like a Blu-ray, or how's it coming out?
It'll be out on our YouTube page tomorrow, the first episode, and we'll release an episode every week for the next 4 weeks. And we're gonna find out if we got some bonus content too. So it'll be right up on our YouTube page.
Yeah, and it's really cool, man. It's a lot of fun. Like I say, I've seen that first episode, and it's a behind the scenes look, and a really cool thing, man. Definitely.
Thanks, man. No, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was just watching episode 3, which is I'm teasing you, but it's the funniest one for sure. I didn't even have time to finish it. I was watching it right before this, but it's hilarious.
It's cool. Yeah. And you guys, like I said, I was telling Mitch earlier, you guys are, every time I've had you on, it's like, this is like the 4th time, but you guys are together. Usually you're always kind of in the same room, and there's a brotherly love there, man. And it's really cool. I can tell you guys enjoy each other, and that's really great to see, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's cool. You guys, I love you. You're always welcome here. Doors always open. I hope to see you on the road, man.
You will.
Likewise.
Awesome, man.
Cheers.
Take care, bud.
Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you.
All right. See ya.